Hi, I'm Scott Willison, owner of the Confluence Fly Shop in Bellingham, Washington, and today we are going to tie a really cool streamer pattern from George Daniels. This is a fly called the Spark Plug. Number of things I like about it. It's tied on a jig hook, so it's going to ride hook point up. It's fairly simple to tie, so you can fish it where the big fish are, and it's not the end of the world when you lose a fly to a log here and there. And you can tie it in all sorts of different colors to match your prevalent local bait fish. So we're going to tie a variation today that I really like locally on the Skagit River and the Nooksack for bull trout. It tends to show up fairly well in glacially stained water, so which we're often dealing with in those rivers. So we're going to go ahead and get started. In my vise, I have a size 2 Aquaflies 60-degree jig hook. This is the ATH 4700. It's a heavy wire black nickel finish. These hooks are fantastic. You can fish them in freshwater, saltwater, really strong hook. And then I've got a 7/32 or 5.5 millimeter silver slotted tungsten bead from Hairline already on the hook there. For our thread, we are going to use a fluorescent red 140 Denier Ultra thread, and I really like using this to kind of create a gill up toward the head of the fly. Something I've been doing for years on my bait fish patterns and a lot of streamers, and I don't know that it necessarily results in more fish, but flies are there to catch fishermen as much as they are to catch fish, and I really like the way this one looks with the red collar. So for a tail, we are going to tie in some white craft fur, and I'm going to take a fairly generous amount here to start with. And then I'm going to take it and just sort of get some of that under fluff out. Don't need this to be super bulky to tie in. And then I've got a few kind of wispy fibers at the very tip. We're just going to clean those out as well. So we've got a nice sort of natural taper to our craft fur. And then I want to measure this, I like to go about 1.5 times the length of this hook here for the tail. So we'll just pinch that on top. Take a few wraps sort of right above the hook point just to get it situated. And then I'm going to trim this just short of the bead. And I reached for my heavy duty hair scissors here because they cut this stuff a little bit better. And then we're going to wrap over the butt ends just to kind of cover it up. I like to do that when I'm tying materials in at the rear of the fly. It just promotes a nice even underbody. I grabbed the squeaky bobbin today. Alright, and there's our tail. Next we'll tie in our body material, which in this case is going to be UV silver polar chenille. I often use just the UV pearl. You could use a UV copper, any sort of reflective polar chenille that's going to mimic a bait fish body works quite well. And then we'll just take our thread up to the eye of the hook, or to the bead. And then we'll just wrap this. Nice touching wraps. I don't want that red thread to show through just yet. And as I'm wrapping it, I can also take my my fingers and sweep those fibers back. And we're going to wrap this all the way up to the bead here. And then I'll pull that tight, take a locking wrap over it, then another 2 or 3 wraps just to secure it. And these are fairly big beads, so I like to wrap this material right up to the bead just so that bead doesn't really get an opportunity to slide around on the hook there. And then, just to add some bulk up toward the head, we are going to add some Senyo's laser dub, and we'll go ahead and use white for this. The gray looks really good too. And I'm going to take a fairly sizable amount. I don't think I'll use quite all of this, but initially I'm just sort of teasing it out and trying to align all the fibers so that they're relatively straight. Sometimes this stuff can be wadded up a little bit in the pack. And I tend to use a little bit more than what I plan to end up with, because I'll comb this fly out a little bit when I'm done, and you're going to lose some of this material in the combing process. So I've got roughly a couple inch length of the laser dub, and I'm going to sort of V-tie it on top. So I'm tying it slightly to my side of the hook initially. Take a loose wrap somewhat on the near side of the hook. Get a couple wraps in there, and then I'm going to fold the rest of it over kind of toward the far side of the hook. Really, so we're trying to cover just the bottom half of this fly. So we're getting like 180-degree coverage with the laser dub. And then we're going to go ahead and flip the hook in the vise, and we'll tie in our top material. And in keeping with most bait fish profiles, like to go with a little bit darker color for this. You can use all manners of ripple ice fiber. Today I'm going to use the Peacock, which is kind of a darker color. The copper looks fantastic. Olive looks great. Any sort of bait fishy color is in order here. And this is fairly long stuff, and I've got a pretty good chunk here that's about 4.5 inches long or so. We're going to tie that in roughly in the middle, and kind of directly in line with the hook point. And then we can fold the rest of it back around the other side of the hook point. And we'll just try to get a wrap or two over that to lock that into place. And I build up a nice, neat little collar there. That's my sort of gill flash on the fly. Ugh, that bobbin is annoying. Make sure we get all of our wing material out of the way, and we can go ahead and do a 3 or 4 turn whip finish at this point. Trim that out, and then just going to apply a little bit of bone dry Solarez to the thread wraps. This is a super durable fly. It doesn't use any material that really absorbs a lot of water, so it tends to cut through the water nicely and sink deeply. It's got a nice jigging action to it, and this thing is a fantastic fly to fish, whether you're chasing big browns or in our case locally a lot of bull trout. Wonderful smallmouth bass fly as well. And I'm just combing it out to give the whole thing a nice flow, so you can kind of see that it's got a really good natural bait fish taper to it here. And it wasn't all that hard to tie, so if we take it out of the vise here, you can get a good sense of what this fly is going to look like in the water, and definitely one you're going to want to tie. I mostly tie these a little larger in a size 2, but sometimes smaller patterns work well too. If you this hook is available in a 4 and a 6 as well for smaller baitfish patterns, and is an excellent choice. So there you have it, George Daniels Spark Plug. Thanks for watching, and please be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content, and we will see you in the shop or on the water.